Hello friends, let's start with answers for the previous puzzles, for the previous topic. Puzzle number 1, it was white to move, and here we play rook a8. Black is forced to take, f4 check, attacking the king and attacking the queen. And black has not much to do, either removing the king, then we take the queen, or queen takes g2, but then we take and we take the bishop. Here we go for queen takes h5. Bishop takes h5, and now we see this bishop on c2, which is aiming at the king. So rook d6, and whatever black plays, we take the queen. Bishop g6, then we still take the queen. We don't take the bishop. In this case, rook takes g6 and black is winning. But we just take the queen since the bishop on c2 is protected. If it was black to move here, then we see the rook on g8, we see the king on g2. So that's why we go for knight f4 check. White should take, and we take the rook on g3, on d3. Unfortunately, we cannot take the queen after king h2, so we cannot, since the bishop is pinned, but we can take the bishop, and black is the exchange up. And next move it could be queen g6, threatening queen g3 or queen g1 or something else. Puzzle number 3, El Clásico. Yeah, here we go for queen g7, sacrificing the queen. King takes. And in such a situation, we should always check which discard is better. Either knight e6 or knight f5. Knight f5, double check. King g8 or king f7, doesn't really matter. Knight h6, checkmate. King f7, knight h6, just the same, since we have the rook on e1, cutting off the king. And the last puzzle, what do we have here? Here we see that there is this bishop on b3, which is aiming at the black king. So what can we do about that? We would like to push our pawn to d6, attacking the queen and attacking the rook, but there is the bishop on d6. So that's why we go for queen e7, distracting the bishop, bishop takes, d6, discovery check, and we take, like next move, we take the queen. That's it. Our next topic is pawn promotion. So when we have a pawn close to the 8th rank for white or to the 1st rank for black, then there are some tactical ideas about promoting the pawn. And in this position, for example, if it was white to move, then like we can promote the pawn, but in this case, the bishop gonna take it. So, but on the other hand, the bishop is protecting the d3 pawn. So we can see that the bishop is overloaded. And that's why we just take the pawn on d3 and we are fine. If it was black to move, then black could play b3 with idea of okay, b takes a2, it's obvious. And interestingly, white has nothing to do about that. So let's say knight d3, then b takes a2, king b1, then d2. If a takes b3, then it's also, we start with a2. So king b2, then d2, knight c2, then we can just take the knight. If b takes c4, then a1 is check, and then we take the g7 pawn. Next one, we can take the pawn on h7, but then the king takes. So we can distract the king by playing rook f8, and then taking on h7, threatening h8 queen. Unfortunately for black, he has nothing to do about it. If it was black to move, then just the same story. What do we do? Yeah, just rook to c1, then the king takes, and b takes a2. Let's say h4, rook c1, king takes, b takes a2, and white is not in time to do the same story. Queen d2, and unfortunately after king d3, queen b1, and taking the pawn on h7. Next one is about under promotion. So here we take the knight, king takes, and instead of promoting the pawn to the queen, we promote it to the knight. Knight on d8, and then we take the queen. And for black, it is just it's just the same story. Queen takes c2, king takes c2, and instead of e1 queen, so then white could do the same, queen takes f7 and promoting the queen. It's better to promote the knight and then taking the queen on f3. Here we have something from the previous topic. We have the queen on b3, the king on g8, and there is a pawn between them. So that's why we go for rook d8 check. Black is obliged to take, he has nothing else to do. Then e7 check, and whatever black plays, we take on d8. For example, queen d5, we still just take it, since the queen on d5 is pinned. This one is more difficult, but still, what do we see here? The pawn on c7, right? The pawn on c7, so we would like to promote it somehow, but there is the bishop on c8. So that's why we go for such a weird move as bishop h3, and in case if black takes, then f5, cutting off the bishop. G takes f5, then c8 queen. So that's why for black it would be better to go for f5. But in this case, we just take on e5. Maybe also kind of threatening at some point, like at least having an idea of e6. But next move, we can just take on f5. And moves like king e6 is nothing good for black. Then we just take on f5, g takes f5, and g4. Bishop e5, then we just take on f5, and we take here, and it's still like, okay, now we have a new puzzle dedicated to pawn promotion. Of course, we could just play king f2 and still win in the game, but it's easier to go for f6. So bishop takes h3 and f7, and that's it. And the last puzzle. Here we see that white has the advanced pawn on a5, so it's like we need just 3 moves to promote the pawn. However, the white king is weak, and there are some threats like queen h3, and that's annoying. So that's why what we do is queen d8 check. Let's say king g7 and queen g8 check. So in case of king h6, it's just queen h8 and knight e7. While in case of king takes g8, knight e7, king f7, knight takes f5, and black has nothing to do to stop the pawn. Just a6, a7, and a8. And that's it. A few positions for you to solve on your own. Here it's white to move. Think and find the best move. And don't forget what is our topic. Next puzzle, it's also white to move here. Oh, this one is juicy. It's white to move. Think about this pawn. What can we do about that? And the last one, obviously about the h5 pawn. So think how can you promote the pawn? Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.